work and study abroad on campus. And I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes or so kind of going over what it means to study abroad at UC San Diego, things you should be thinking about if it's something you'd want to do, and encouraging you all to come and talk to us and get to know us as you get started here at UC San Diego. So I'm going to go ahead and share a screen. So hopefully you can see this. Yeah, thumbs up, Maru. Awesome, awesome. Whoops, let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, get into the slideshow here. So kind of getting started, I just wanted to kind of highlight for us all what things students who want to study abroad at UC San Diego typically need to be thinking about. A lot of times when you think about study abroad, it can seem overwhelming. You know, it's a process. You have to do all these steps. And, a lot of times students just kind of say, where do I begin? I don't even know kind of where to start. So this presentation is to kind of jog kind of our thinking in terms of considerations that we need to make. So there's a number of considerations that as an office, we ask students to start to think about as they start to learn about study abroad, as they start to go to our website and learn about it and research programs. And so I'm going to go over some of these things, all of these things actually today, things that you need to be thinking about when you think about study abroad. So starting us off with academics, it's a big thing. First of all, I want to congratulate all of you for entrance into UC San Diego. CASP scholars, we love CASP. We love working with your program. In terms of academics, here are some considerations that we ask students to kind of think about when it comes time to thinking about how do I do academics abroad in terms of studying abroad. The first thing we tell students is, if possible, try to make sure that you're satisfying your UCSD requirements abroad. All of you have to do classes, right? To earn your degree, to get your major and whatever. Since you got to do those classes, you might as well go somewhere fun and totally do them abroad, right? That's the kind of thinking that a lot of students have when it comes to wanting to study abroad. Some of our students go abroad to satisfy their general education requirements for their college. Still others will go abroad and do their major, minor requirements, classes for their major and minor. Sometimes they'll go abroad to satisfy like the DEI requirement, which is a UCSD requirement. And some students will do a number of those things, right? So the thing to think about is, what do you want to satisfy when you go abroad, right? What requirements are you looking to achieve when you start to think about different programs? We always ask that students, can study abroad fit in your major schedule? UC San Diego, there's a lot of really hard majors with tight timelines. I personally advise for all of the engineering majors, and I know that engineering, majors are really busy, right? And so if you can fit it in during the year, that's great. But sometimes students will decide, summer is going to be my best option. And indeed, at UC San Diego, summer is our most popular time for students to study abroad. That way, the main reason is you don't have to mess with your schedule during the year. It makes it pretty easy. So definitely something to think about in terms of academic considerations. Can you fit study abroad in during the year? More and more opportunities are coming up where we can offer internships abroad, research projects abroad. We have a number of different programs that are doing more of those experiential type of activities. And so if you're interested in doing something like that, definitely reach out to us and we can kind of show you what opportunities we have going on in those areas. They can number from, I know for engineering, there's some research labs in Japan. There's some others in, other countries that do engineering research. There's a political science internship in the Parliament building in Edinburgh, Scotland, so all different majors. There's a lot of different opportunities. Definitely something to consider. Once students start to zone in on a program and they say, you know what, I really like this program in London, or I really want to go to Spain for whatever program. The next kind of thing that we have students do is get on our website, look at the program and search for the courses that are within that program, and hopefully course descriptions, because what we'll do is we'll send you, after meeting with us, we'll send you over to your academic advisors and say, look, you need to talk about this plan that you have to study abroad, taking X, Y, and Z. We want to make sure that you guys are cool with it too. And so it's a big conversation that we'll have with your academic advisors in your college, in your department, in your major, and all of that good stuff. We want to make sure everyone's on the same page when it comes to planning your academics abroad. And then note, I put a quick note, when students study abroad, a lot of times when they come back, the departments just want to make sure, hey, did you do the classes you said you were going to do? And we call that petitioning your work. So be prepared to just check in with your department when you come back, say, yes, I did these classes, and complete the circle, right? In terms of the next thing is finances. You know, financial considerations, finances is on the minds of everybody who utters the word study abroad. How much will it cost me? Is this expensive? You know, we hear that literally all the time. Some things you need to know when it comes to study abroad and your finances. One is we have a lot of programs, right? And our program costs vary widely. Our program costs can vary depending on the location. You know, Europe tends to be more expensive, if I'm speaking generally. Asia, Latin America, Africa tends to be cheaper. How long the program is, the summer program is going to be cheaper than a whole year, right? In terms of the length of time you're going to be abroad. And factors like that, other factors will play into the costs. It's important to know that financial aid may be applied towards study abroad. I always point out to CASP scholars that you can use your CASP scholarship towards a study abroad experience as long as it's during the year. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to use it during the summer, but there are a lot of different scholarships available. So if you really, really want to go in summer, or you can only go in summer, you should apply to these other scholarships. There's a national one called the Gilman Award. There's scholarships out of our office. Every college at UCSD offers a study abroad scholarship. So there's different pools that you can kind of access. And I always tell students, you know, you're guaranteed not to get a scholarship if you don't apply for one. So just make the application part of your process in terms of applying to the program. You're also applying to these scholarships. Essay writing workshops, we hold those out of our office. And then also it's important to note that we have a really close relationship with financial aid office. In fact, we have a financial aid advisor or counselor embedded in our office. His name's Eduardo. He's awesome. Once you've kind of identify your program, you can start working with him. He can pull your file and kind of identify, okay, this is how you budget and all of this good stuff. So it's a partnership that we really enjoy with the financial aid office. Location. A lot of students want to know, well, where could I go if I studied abroad? We have programs in a lot of locations. We tell students, because we have so many locations, it's important to kind of focus in on what you want to do versus where you want to go. So we ask students, does the program in your desired location offer the academics that you need? You know, let's say you wanted to do pre-med in Thailand. I don't know if they have pre-med in Thailand, but you know, if they don't, you shouldn't go to Thailand if you want to do pre-med, right? So thinking about that. Sometimes students are looking for like a certain housing situation. You know, they might want to live on campus, off campus. They might want to stay with the homestay. Our programs offer all of that. We have different programs offering different housing options. Something to think about. If you want to kind of pull the lens back a little bit and say, just, you know, if you imagine yourself abroad, studying abroad, do you imagine yourself in like a urban big city environment where there's huge skyscrapers and double-decker buses cruising around? Or do you prefer to maybe go to a school that's in a more rural setting, like a bucolic setting, and then maybe you can go into the city, you know, on the weekends or something. So stuff to think about in terms of location considerations, right? And the other thing too is we have so many different programs, and I'll get into our different programs, in a little bit, into the details. But sometimes, our programs, we'll have programs where you might get embedded with local students, where you're pretty much one of the few Americans or international students, fully immersed in a foreign university. We have some programs where you would be studying abroad with all other US students, from exchange students across the US. So other programs we have, you're only going to be taking classes pretty much with UC students or UC San Diego students. So there's a big mix. So think about how you would like to experience a study abroad adventure. Would you like to do it kind of on your own, or would you like to have like more American students kind of embedded in your program for convenience and all of that good stuff? Do you need accommodations, test taking or other kinds of things? Some of our programs can give our students that. Other programs might be a little more challenged by those requests. So it's important to let us know if you need an accommodation so we can work with our providers to make that work for you. COVID. Guess what? We're still in COVID, and I'm waiting for it to be over, but I don't think it's going to be over anytime soon. So instead of sitting on our hands waiting for this to be over, we are starting to send students abroad during COVID. As we speak right now, we have about 350 students abroad for our own global seminars program around the world. So we're excited. Some students abroad right now did get COVID, right? They're in quarantine or whatnot. What we're telling students when it comes to study abroad in this time of COVID is we want you to be flexible. Have a backup plan in case conditions go south and, we have to kind of pull out of a program. Try to have a plan B or, a backup plan in case something happens. It's important for students to follow all of the communications and instructions that our office or the provider is sending out, both during the planning process and definitely while you're on your program, because a lot of COVID related things happen very quickly. It's very like, this happened, we're going to post an announcement, an alert. It's important to stay on top of that stuff through following the communication. And then finally, it goes without saying, always prioritize safety, yours and others at all times. If your provider, your study abroad people overseas want you to wear a mask, just like on campus. So all of those things definitely are going to continue as we move forward through this COVID time, right? A lot of questions we get about language. Do I need to know another language to study abroad? No, you don't need to know another language to study abroad. We have a lot of programs where it's all in English. So in terms of language, there's pretty much three things that can happen for you, or three scenarios, if you will. One, you go to an English speaking country and they might have a thick accent, whatever, Scottish or New Zealand, Australian, whatever, but it's all in English. The second option would be to go to a non-English speaking country, but take courses in English. An example that I have is there's a program that we work with in Sweden. Now, everyone in Sweden speaks Swedish, but most people there also speak English, and they offer courses for the study abroad program that we work with in English. And so that's an example of that. And then some students want a full immersion language experience. They want to jump in. They want to practice Spanish. They want to practice Arabic or French or whatever the case may be. And so if you want that, that's also an option as well. Excuse me. I've been meeting with people all day. In terms of the full language immersive experience, some of those programs, they want you to have previous experience in that language to be prepared to do it. And so that might be a number of quarters of Spanish or whatever the language is in school. Or if you grew up speaking Spanish in the home, heritage speaking student, you can certainly apply that towards any kind of requirement. And sometimes we'll send students over to do a language oral test with linguistics, just to say, yes, this student does know enough Spanish to be able to get around Barcelona or Mexico City or wherever. And so if you're interested in doing a full language immersive experience, let us know and we can kind of hone in on some of those options for you. Next is identity, identity considerations. You know, we want to talk to all of our students about your identity when you're abroad. You know, I had the fortunate opportunity to have been able to live abroad. I spent a couple of years living in the country of Belize, which is down in Central America. Didn't think much about my identity before I went, but when I was there, I physically looked Belizean, and so they all thought I was local, and that definitely impacted my experience in ways that that didn't impact white people who were down there studying with me. And so, you know, it's important to think, you know, how might I be perceived abroad, you know, in terms of my identity. Maybe you identify as LGBT. How's the climate going to be in the country that you're going to be studying abroad in? What resources are going to be available for you there? When you're abroad, if you do hold a different identity, how are you going to find support in that country? How are you going to build allyship with your group to be able to, you know, make sure that your study abroad participants will have your back if something happens or if you need to talk something through. So it's important to think about all these things. And we've been developing on our website a series of resources that's related to diversity and identity. And so we encourage you to get on our website, learn more about it, and certainly come to us with questions. And as you're planning your experience, you know, we kind of want to help you in that sense to be prepared and to be fully, you know, kind of knowledgeable and aware of whatever issues that might hit you when you're abroad. Because going abroad, if you have never been abroad or if you've never had an opportunity, it is so fun. It's really a life changer. It makes you feel alive, and it's just a really intense experience. And we just want to make sure that there's not going to be any surprises when it comes to kind of how your identity plays in whatever country you're in. Another thing is timing. When I say timing, I'm like, when should you study abroad? When should you do this? If you're going to go to college for 4, you know, maybe 5 years or whatever, you need to think about timing. So the important thing is, as you start to research programs, and this is particularly true with majors that are really constricted, right? You're in classes, you know, those engineering or STEM majors, you're so busy. You need to discuss your study abroad plans or your goals with your academic advisors here, because they might be able to rearrange your schedule to say, oh yeah, you can take all your electives fall quarter of your junior year and study abroad doing it, or something like that. Or, yo, man, you're out of luck during the year, you better go in summer or something like that, right? So, so make sure you're discussing your plans with your advisors. It's important to ask yourself, you know, do I want summer, or do I want to go abroad during the year? So for a quarter or beyond. A note on the timing that you all should know. Congratulations, you're coming to a quarter-based school. That means you're special and different, and everyone is totally on the semester system pretty much around the world, right? And so what that means is that when we work with schools that are on a semester system, basically, and there's some exceptions to this, but basically think about it this way. If you go for a fall semester, you're going to be gone at the end of your UCSD summer and over fall quarter, usually. If you go abroad for a spring semester program, you usually are going to be out for both winter quarter and spring quarter. If you know what SDSU's calendar is, or what, you know, community college, Mesa or whatever, it's pretty much that kind of calendar, 15, 16 weeks, right? And so because of that, if students at UCSD do study abroad during the year, overwhelmingly, most of them do choose a fall semester, because they only have to be gone from UCSD for 1 quarter, as opposed to a spring semester program, which would take them out winter quarter and spring quarter. Having said that, some students choose spring semester programs because, you know, you might get better financial aid outcome, or you like, you know, flowers blooming in Paris in the spring. I don't know, whatever it is. So think about that in terms of the calendar. Also, something else to think about is some of our programs are in the Southern Hemisphere and they work on different calendars. And so there's exceptions. And so we want to make sure that you know when a program starts and when it ends. And so when you look at the programs, make sure you take note of those start and end dates. And then when it comes to applying to a program, you would be applying obviously before you hop on the plane. Note when the deadline for the application is. A lot of our program deadlines for basically for programs that are happening in the future, summer or following year, will be due in winter quarter, the previous term. And so get on our website, you can make note of like all the deadlines and all that good stuff. Some students want to know, should I go earlier or later? Just know that statistically speaking, your third year or your junior year is the most common time for students to study abroad, right? Embedded in between everything. Some students, though, study abroad as late as their senior year. You know, they have weird like 4 credits to finish or 5 credits and they'll do it abroad. Some students want to go ASAP. And so you can study abroad as early as this time next year, you know, the first summer that after you've spent your first year. So all of those options are available. Some programs want you to be at junior status. Other programs, it's fine if you're at sophomore status. So just know what the requirements are. Typically for requirements, by the way, we look at your class standing, you know, if you're a sophomore, junior, or so on, and we look at your GPA. So it goes without saying, do really well at UCSD and get a really high GPA. The higher the GPA you get, the more choices in study abroad you will enjoy. And that's true not only with study abroad, but for all opportunities out there, internships and so on. So I'm gonna, and please, I don't want you to think that you have to know all of this, but I do want to touch on all of our different programs. What you're seeing here is a list of all of our different program portfolios. And it can get confusing for students, but I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. I'm going to go through all of these individually, but just know that UC San Diego, we offer our very own programs called Global Seminars and a program called Global Exchange. The entire University of California system offers a program called UCEAP, which is available for all campuses under the UC. UCSD students can also participate on other UC campus programs like Berkeley and so on. And then we even allow you to go on non-UC programs called Opportunities Abroad. So what are these programs? Let's quickly walk through them, shall we? The first one is Global Seminars. Essentially, it's our very own program. You would go overseas in the summer. We have them going on right now. You would take 2 UCSD courses totaling 8 quarter units. These are actually UCSD courses. Some of this global seminars will satisfy your DEI requirement, which is a UCSD campus requirement that everyone has to fulfill. Because it's in summer, you know, a lot of times students will be able to access some portion of their UC San Diego summer financial aid. Scholarships are available. Like I said, CASP, unfortunately can't use CASP scholars for summer, but you can access other scholarship opportunities. All of global seminars are taught in English. It's all in English. And then it's only in summer. There are no global seminars during the year. And in 2023, this coming summer, I want to show you guys a snapshot of our global seminars. We just kind of put this on the presses here. It's a list of all the global seminars. We're starting to do programs that aren't even abroad. We have a program down here called something social justice, let's see, disability and environmental justice in California. That program is going to be in Santa Cruz. We've had programs going to Yosemite this summer. So we're starting to see programs open up in the US, which is really cool because let's say you don't have a passport. And you don't need a passport to go to Santa Cruz. And so these opportunities are available to those who maybe they're undocumented, maybe they're DACA, maybe they're working and they just don't want to spend the money for plane tickets or whatever. So there's a lot of different options that are kind of being curated and developed, both foreign, abroad, as well as domestically. So this is a list of programs in global seminars that we're going to be hosting for 2023 summer. You'll notice that some of them are like Revell in Edinburgh, Revell in London. Even if you're not a Revell student or a 6 college student or an ERC student, you can still go on these programs, especially if, as long as it satisfies your gen eds or DI or whatever it might be. Next is Global Exchange. Global Exchange is a new program for us, so it's not that big, but essentially they're bilateral partnerships that we have between us, UCSD, like a department at UCSD, and a partner university. They're only for UCSD students. No other students can participate in these. In terms of the academics, students would go and take courses at this partner university, earn transfer credit. The courses can fulfill your major requirements or your college requirements if that's the case. The cool thing about this program is that because it's a bilateral partnership, you're going to stay enrolled at UC San Diego. You're going to pay UCSD tuition and fees like normal. You're going to have access to your usual financial aid. It's just that you're going to be over there. You're going to be taking core classes at this partner university. And students at that university are going to be taking classes here at UCSD. So it's a really cool option. Most of the programs are in English. There's one that we have at UABC down in Baja, California, where you need to know Spanish, but all the other ones are in English. And we have programs in fall semester, spring semester, or the whole year for Global Exchange. Next, you have the very popular, you probably have heard of this, EAP, UCAP. If you have a friend or friends going to another UC campus, Berkeley, Riverside, Merced, wherever, y'all can go on the same program because this UCAP is for all of the UCs. So the cool thing about EAP to know is that because it's a UC program, you're going to be earning UC credit. So the classes are going to be calculated into your GPA. If you have UC financial aid, you can apply that. Your CASP scholarship can be applied to UC EAP if it's a during the year program. There's scholarships beyond that that are available. You can take courses in English through EAP or do an immersion experience. And they have tons of different options. They got programs in the summer. They have quarter-only programs. They actually have UC centers in different sites around the world where you would just go for a quarter, take classes with other UC students. They have semester programs. You can even go for a whole year. So there's a lot of options there in terms of EAP. And then, like I said, you can go do other campus programs. And the cool thing is, if you do UCLA, Berkeley program, whatever, Davis has a lot of them, you can still receive that UC credit while enrolling in their program. A lot of their programs are in the summer. Financial aid is available and all that good stuff too. And then just real quickly, opportunities abroad. I don't really talk too much about that because frankly, if you guys are CASP scholars, you can use your money for EAP or UC-based stuff during the year. But sometimes you might want to go to a country that EAP doesn't go to or do something unique. If you've ever heard of Semester at Sea, for instance, which is like a cruise ship that cruises around, that's a non-UC program, but we want you to be able to do it if you want to do it. So what OAP essentially is a network of non-UC study abroad providers. A lot of choices are available. A lot of those programs are very affordable. They go to over 50 countries, tons of options. Because it's not UC, you are going to be earning transfer credit. You can fulfill those courses for your major, department, and college requirements. A lot of affordable options. Because it's not UC, you couldn't use your UC-based aid like CASP or UC Blue and Gold or none of that, which is why not a lot of CASP students do it, but just to throw it out there. So a lot of different options available, a lot of choices for you. And then kind of to wrap things up, because I did want to know we still have about 15 minutes and hopefully, feel free to drop a question in the chat or, to unmute yourself if you want to talk, whatever is comfortable for you. Happy to field questions that you have. But I kind of wanted to wrap up with this slide to tell students kind of what your next step should be. First of all, don't worry about study abroad right now because you are enjoying the glow that is CASP. You are just kind of getting everything. And I totally get that. It's like drinking from a fire hose, right? You're totally overwhelmed. So don't feel like you need to know all the stuff I just told you right away, right? However, that said, if you're interested and serious about studying abroad, once you kind of get going your first quarter here, I would encourage you to hop on our website. Our website is studyabroad.ucsd.edu. And you can start researching programs, either the EAP programs, global seminars, whatever one is interesting to you. And then once you start researching some, you kind of get a good lay of the land, maybe a good list of questions to ask. Then I would love it if you schedule an appointment, an advising appointment with my team. We have a team of advisors. They're there for you. They're waiting to help you. And they're a really great bunch. You can go on our homepage and click the virtual front desk during our business hours and request, get on there, talk with one of our student assistants and request to be put on an advisor's schedule. During the year, it's closed right now, but during the year, we have a in-person front desk, which is right off of Library Walk. If you know the campus, if you kind of been able to go around, Library Walk is that straight line from the library all the way to the medical school campus. We have our office is right across from the Career Center. And so that's a real central location. We're going to be open, during the year, obviously. And so you can pop in there and get on our calendar as well. So I'm going to go ahead and stop share. And I got some cool questions. I'm going to address some of these questions for us. One question is, would the internships be more affordable? Not quite sure what that means, because there's different internships, right? You might get an internship that's more affordable than a certain traditional study abroad program, another internship that might be as expensive. Important to point out, because sometimes students think about internships and they're like, do we get paid for these internships? And does it carry like a money or anything? But no, it doesn't. You would have to pay just like a study abroad experience. For our internships, especially for EAP, they're actually credit bearing. So you're going to be paying to earn the credit for the internship. And so there's a lot of different internship opportunities. And so the cost, though, varies for internships, just like they would vary for your traditional study abroad experience. I had a question about the UC-DC program. Thank you, whoever asked that question. There's another program called UC-DC, which is the UC District of Columbia program, where you would go to Washington, DC to do an internship. UC Sacramento is another one. Those two programs are actually facilitated out of another office, our academic internship program, AIP. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maria. I think that's what the AIP stands for. And that's UC-DC. And so if you're interested in going to Washington, DC to do an internship, that is an excellent program. Highly recommend it. There's also another domestic program that's run out of Thurgood Marshall College. And those, it's three universities that are HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities. You can study for a semester at Morehouse College, or Spelman College, or Xavier College in New Orleans, and Morehouse and Spelman are, of course, in Atlanta. So those are other opportunities for you to study abroad. Well, study away, we call it, right? Not overseas, but in another part of the U.S. And so that might be something to look into as well. I had a question about healthcare. What healthcare options are available if someone needs healthcare for any reason while abroad? Thank you for asking that question, because it's important to point out that one of the requirements to study abroad is that you have to be insured. UC Trips insurance is something that we don't ask you to fill out. We make you do it. You cannot study abroad unless you're fully insured. And we do that because accidents sometimes do happen. We had a student several years ago who unfortunately got hit by a car abroad. We want to make sure that everything's covered. And so 2 years ago, or maybe it's 3 by now, March of 2020, when COVID hit the world, we had to evacuate thousands. It was crazy. It's amazing. If we didn't have insurance, we would be out of business. So that's why we have insurance. It's certainly something that's going to be part of your program, just to make sure that you have it all covered. And speaking of support, know also that a lot of our programs carry that kind of scaffolded support network. So you have a director who can help you with housing questions. You have a person who can help you with classes or questions academically. So we have all these staff abroad who help you once you're over there. So it's something to keep in mind too. I had a question about, is it possible to participate in multiple programs such as global seminars and EAP? The answer is yes. Yes, it is. It really depends on your major, though. We do get students who pretty much become addicted to study abroad. They're like, I want to go here, and Japan is next, and oh my God, I got to go to London town, and all of this stuff, right? You can go abroad multiple times. Couple things to think about, though. Sometimes students will go abroad concurrently. They'll go to one country and then immediately go somewhere else, fall semester, spring semester. Make sure that those programs' dates don't overlap. You don't want to overlap your dates if you are planning on doing that. You want to check with your advisors in your major, and you want to ask them, how many credits would I be allowed to do outside of UCSD? Because that number differentiates depending on your major. Some majors, they're like, see ya, have fun, study abroad 8 times for all I care, we don't care. Other majors are like, no, you're only allowed to take X amount of classes abroad. So you want to make sure that your major is telling you how often you can study abroad. But in general, some students, especially students who love study abroad, they'll try to make that multiple trips part of their UCSD experience. I have another question. Is there a difference between transfer credit and UC credit, and or do they both give the same credit? That's a great question, Carlos. And let me try to break it down. So let's say you go abroad through EAP or through a UC-based campus program. You're going to be earning UC credit. What that means is the classes that you take abroad where you're earning UC credit, when those classes come back, they're going to be calculated into your GPA here at UCSD because it's a UC program. So if you got all D's because you were partying in Rome too much, that's going to really negatively affect your GPA, right? And so that's something to think about. If you go on a program that offers transfer credit, that means that it's not part of UC. It's not a UC program. It's not affiliated with UC at all. You're going to be coming in as transfer credit. Those classes, all those D's you got in Rome, that's not going to be applied to your GPA. So imagine if, and I think all of you are new, Maru, none of these guys are transfers, right? Or are all of them transfers?
Some are transfers, but I'd say most are freshmen.
Okay. So there's some transfers in the mix. Let's say you have a transfer who went to Mesa College before they came over to UCSD. And let's say they took organic chemistry at Mesa. That organic chemistry class isn't going to be calculated into your UCSD GPA because it happened at Mesa. But you can apply the organic chemistry towards your organic chemistry requirements at UCSD. Does that make sense? It's transfer credit. You can apply the classes towards requirements here. It's just that those classes won't be calculated into a GPA. Now, I have to warn you though, sometimes students are like, yo, great, I'm going to party in Rome, let's go. But just know that if you aspire to go to graduate school, your graduate school program is going to want to look at your UCSD transcripts and any other transcripts, including those Rome transcripts. So be careful. Just because it doesn't sit on your UCSD transcript doesn't mean it can't come back to bite you later. So that's hopefully, Carlos, that kind of explains the difference there in terms of how we look at credit. The other thing to note, if it's non-UC credit, if it's transfer credit, it has to go through our admissions office first. They have to say, yes, this school is legit. It's not some shady, back of the bus, operation, right? So they want to make sure that it's legit. If it's a program like EAP where the UC credit is automatic, admissions doesn't have anything to do with it. It is automatic. It comes in as UC credit like that. So that's the difference there. Great questions. Yeah, thank you for answering. Any other questions before it's 3:40? No harm in letting you guys go 5 minutes early. Hopefully Maru is okay with that. Any final questions before I let you guys go? If you are going to sleep tonight and a cool, interesting, amazing question pops in your head, contact me or contact anybody at our office. We want to talk to you. It's never too early to connect. It's never too early to start the conversation. It is something that we love to do. And so please, 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 when you get on campus, come by, say hello. I want to wish you all a smooth transition into UCSD. It's a very exciting time. And let me just tell you real quickly, I was a transfer student myself, and I transferred to my university, my new university, and I lost something like 9 credits in the transfer process. I was really salty about it, right? So I was just gonna put my head down and just go to class, right? Try to get out as quickly as I could. My professor really encouraged me to study abroad. He was like, you know, just going to class anymore, that's not enough. You got to be out there. You got to do an internship. You got to study abroad. If you don't study abroad, I implore, this will be my final words. Please, please, please do something. Don't just go to class, right? You're going to need to pitch, you know, yourself to future employers, to graduate schools. You're going to want something to talk about in those interviews. And study abroad is a wonderful way to do that. It's going to give you global experience to put on your resume. It's going to give you cross-cultural, intercultural skill development that will, you know, expand your toolbox. And so I can't encourage you enough to study abroad. If you don't want to study abroad, do UCDC or something closer to home. That's cool too. But just do something. And with that, I'll leave you and wish you the best. That's my game, Maru. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jay, for presenting for us.
All right. Enjoy your day. Take care, guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.